Right? Yeah, right? Hey, welcome back to the shop. So, good project today. You remember that tray that I made a little while back? No, not that tray. No, not that tray either. Yeah, that tray. Okay, so I was asked by somebody, can I take that tray but then turn around and make a special box that coordinates with it? It doesn't have to match exactly, but it needs to coordinate. This box is supposed to be for holding a laptop, charging cable, that kind of stuff. So this is what I'm envisioning. Build a walnut box, rectangle, kind of squatty. It doesn't need to be super tall because laptops aren't really that thick. But I want enough room so that if I want to put like a mouse or other things on top of the laptop, we still have room to do that. And then having a divider kind of offset so that we have a smaller area for the cables, but the bigger area for the actual laptop itself. And then to really tie it into that tray, I'm thinking maple splines in the corners. It'll straighten up the joinery and they just will look cool and it'll pop. For the lid, I'm thinking maple. We're gonna get some of that contrast. It's gonna tie into the tray really nice. And I want the lid to sit inside the box. That means I need to cut a rabbet on the inside edge of the box so it sits into place. And then I need some sort of handle because you gotta be able to pull the lid off of the box. And I don't really know what I'm gonna do with that yet. So I think I'm gonna build the box first, kind of look it over and then see if I can come up with some designs for the handle. That's typical for me. As you know, you see that's how I work. First things first though, I need some walnut. This is a walnut slab that I got from somewhere. I honestly don't remember if I milled it up myself or if I got it from somebody who milled it. I don't know, but it's air dried walnut. Beautiful. I think this main part here, the hardwood, is probably 15 inches wide. I'm not really sure. Obviously, we don't need anywhere near that. This has been dried in my shop for a while, and I'm putting my moisture meter on it, and it's about 8%, which is fantastic for air-dried walnut in my shop. Since this is a thick slab, I want to make sure that I'm doing this smartly. I don't want to have my wood cup and bow and stuff after I mill it up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the pieces that I need, then I'm going to mill them, but I'm not going to mill them down to their final thickness. Instead, I'm going to just get it down to rough size and then let it acclimate to the shop for a while, then come back later, then remill it down to its final thickness, and then I can build my box. That's just gonna be an added measure to make sure that I don't have my wood move as the moisture content changes in the wood as I'm milling it. It's been a few days and I let my boards acclimate to the shop, and when I put it on my table saw, I can see there's just a slight cup to it, which was expected. That's why I did this. So now I can take this, remill it down to its final thickness, which will be about 5/8 of an inch thick. I don't know, I'll go by eye. We'll see what works. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and then I'll start doing the joinery, which are gonna be miter joints. The miters look pretty good. So at this point, I need to put a box bottom in there, and I went ahead and milled up a walnut panel whenever I was doing the other stuff. So that's ready to go. I'm gonna take this over to the table saw. I'm gonna cut a groove on the inside face of all my pieces until that fits into there. Now, after all that's done, I can't just glue it up just yet because I still gotta put that divider in there. So I need to cut a dado on the inside face of the long pieces. I'll have to go over to the router table to do that. Then once all that's done, then I can glue the whole thing together and patiently wait. I patiently waited for the box to dry, and what you may notice is I went ahead and cut the rabbet here on the inside edge using the table saw before I glued the whole thing together. Now I could have just glued it together and then used a rabbeting bit on a handheld router and went around the perimeter. Either way, doesn't really matter. Now it's time to make the whole thing look pretty. So I'm gonna put some maple splines here in the corners, and to do that, I'm going to use this fancy spline jig here. So if you wanna learn how to make one of these, click up there. I go over the whole thing. Not bad, huh? I think it looks pretty good. Now what I'm thinking is, it'd be nice to have some sort of cushion in here. That way, whenever you put electronics, they don't necessarily bang around. And I found this piece of fabric here at the store, and I love the color. I like the texture look of it. It looks like leather, but it's really fabric. So I'm gonna take my X-Acto knife and I'm gonna cut a piece that will fit into there. The body of the box is done, so now I get to work on the lid. So I grabbed a maple slab and I cut off a chunk of it, and then I went ahead and rough milled it down and let it acclimate to the shop. So now I get to take this piece of maple and then mill it down to its final thickness, and then just basically cut it into a rectangle until it fits into the box. But I want to make sure I give myself a little bit of space, because if it's in there too tight, then as this board expands, then it could potentially break the box. Then I still need to figure out the handle. I don't know what I'm gonna do about that. It needs a handle, I just don't know what style to do. I'm trying to figure out the handle, and I came up with like 6 different types. And the one I'm leaning towards is a long rectangle piece of walnut and then inlay a piece of maple into it. And then from the end, it'll kind of look like the splines here. It'll mimic the splines on the corners. And I think it'll also coordinate well with the tray, because we have the maple that's sandwiched with the walnut. So I'm gonna go ahead and make that. I'll set it on the lid, and then if it looks like butt, I'll come up with something different. Time to apply finish, and I'm gonna go simple. I'm gonna use some Osmo oil. It's the same finish that I put on the tray that's supposed to coordinate with this box, so I imagine it would be a good choice for this. What a really fun project. We're able to take a bunch of different skills that we learned from previous projects, combine them into one, and I have to say I really like how it turned out. I want to give a big shout out to the newest patrons, Kathy Witter, Ronald Kideham. Thank you so much for your support. If you're interested in getting some extra content, behind the scenes, sneak peeks, I even put out an extra video that goes into more depth on a project, then head on over to Patreon, sign up. We're building a really cool community over there. And until we meet again, get in your shop and build something awesome.